Welcome back to the Mind Body Project. Thanks for taking a little time to join me today. Back in, it was last year, early part of the year, maybe April, I talked about the four-letter word that affected all of our lives, and it was part of our life, but we never wanted to say the four-letter word. And a lot of you might be thinking, "Oh, what was that four-letter word? What could that be?" But the four-letter word, and I encourage you to go back and listen to that episode back in April of 2022. But it was a four-letter word that holds us back, that affects us, but nobody wants to talk about it. So the four-letter word is fear. Fear holds us back in so many different ways, and I talked about four different types of fear. I talked about fear of ruin, fear of responsibility, fear of rejection, and fear of regret. And as I was thinking about the four-letter word, and it's been on my mind for months. It's just kind of been rolling around, and I thought, I know, we talked about the four-letter word, and I know it boils down to a one-letter word. I just know it does, and I knew the one-letter word, and I knew had the idea of the two-letter word. I thought, what is the three-letter word? What is between fear and the two-letter word? And I was thinking, what is a three-letter word that when we talk about fear and it's holding us back? What is the three-letter word? Because it goes from a four-letter word to a three-letter word to a two-letter word to a one-letter word. And I was thinking about that, and I've just been rolling around my mind for months. Sometimes I just think, and I sit and think about it, and I think, what is it? What's that three-letter word? And I'd write it down on my Post-it note. If you know anything about me, I love Post-it notes. I have them all over my office. I don't care what color, what type. If it sticks, I'll write on it. And I have them all over the place. I jot down notes, and sometimes I never go back to them, but I jot them down on the Post-it note so it gets out of my mind, and I can free up mind space. It's kind of like when we have a disc. When I record this podcast or for YouTube or on podcast, I record on a little disc, and so sometimes I have to get stuff off of that so I can have more space. Same thing is true with my brain. When I put it down on my Post-it note, I have a little more space in my brain to toss some things around. So I've been tossing this around for months, writing it down on my Post-it notes, writing words, and just brainstorming because I thought it's going to come to me. It's going to it's a way to work my brain, but I know it's going to come to me. And so it did, and we're going to work down from the four-letter word to the one-letter word to the root cause. I really didn't touch on the root cause of fear. We talked about the types of fear and how to overcome them, but we didn't get down to the root cause of fear. And today, I wanted to get down to that one-letter word that got to the bottom of the four-letter word. It's the root cause of that four-letter word. And so as I was thinking about that and I was rolling around and went over it, I thought fear is driven by the three-letter word. But what is that three-letter word? What is that word that I just know drives fear? And then it hit me. The three-letter word that drives fear is but. B-U-T. But what if? But what will happen? But what will they think? But what? But is an excuse. We like to call it a reason. We really do. We like to not be honest with ourselves. And well, these are all the reasons why. I think if we really look at it, we're really using those as excuses. When we put that word but in front of anything, I always view it as an excuse. It's a reason. I'm giving you a reason or excuse why I can't do something. I hear it a lot in the gym. I hear it a lot from clients. well, I wanted to eat good, but we didn't have any good food in the house. I was really trying to exercise, but it was cold outside. I was really trying to eat well, but my spouse brought home dinner. I was really trying to exercise and eat right this week, but we had a lot of school things for the kids. The weather wasn't great. I just wasn't feeling very good. So we look at all those things and we call them really logical reasons. I think when we really look at them, they're excuses. Because it goes back to priorities. A lot of times when we say, I didn't have time for this, whatever this is, it really boils down to, I didn't make it a priority. Because similar to you, to me, to everybody else in the world, we all have 24 hours in the day. I don't know of anybody that has more than 24 hours in a day, unless you cross time zones and you add on hours and all that. But if you stay in the same spot, the same time zone, you have 24 hours. Every single person in this world has 24 hours in a day. So how is it that I have time to do something and you say, I don't have time to do that exact same thing? We have the same time, so why don't you have time and I do? Or why do I not have time and you do? Why is that? It's simple. It's because we have allotted that time to a different priority. It's something else that is important to us. So when we say, but, that means that we have allotted something else to that. Or when we say, in the case of fear, when we say but, we're coming up with excuses. But what if I put this out there on all the podcast platforms? But what if I put it out there on YouTube and people don't like the way I look? But what if they don't like my voice? But what if they don't listen? But what will happen if they don't like it? But what will they think if I start to be my authentic self? But all these buts are excuses. I was talking with Kim, my wife, at lunch today. And the first of the year, 1st of January, I started putting out all my podcasts on YouTube. So anything you hear each week on my podcast, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is just Aaron Degler, and you can watch the podcast. So I'm also starting, and so I did some YouTube for the Mind Body Project. I'm also starting another podcast called My Hometown. It's about my hometown of Bowie, Texas, and those people and organizations and businesses in it. So when I bought all this filming equipment at the beginning of the year, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be great. So the first two interviews I have of the year, one's for the Mind Body Project. The other one is for my hometown. So the first one I do is for my hometown, and I'm looking at the YouTube, and I notice that I have the person I'm interviewing. I have all of her, and there's half of me. Like literally, all you can see is from my face over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but. It's going to go out just like that. It's going to be because I really couldn't edit it right to show me, so it's going to go out like that. The next interview I did for the Mind Body Project with Monica, that was during Mental Health Month. I did that interview, and halfway through the interview, and if you go back and listen to it, you can kind of hear me pause because I'm looking at the camera and realize that I haven't plugged in the microphone, and I go, oh my gosh. But I just kept rolling with it. I did another interview just last week, and we had our mics all hooked up, but I didn't turn the mics on. So there's no sound for YouTube. I got it for podcast, but not YouTube. So I'm going to have to get creative. I'm going to have to match up the podcast audio with the YouTube audio. But those are things that I'm talking about but the but could have stopped me. The but could have been, but what if people go, he doesn't know what he's doing on YouTube. But what if, that sound is not great. But what if the lighting's not good? But what if people are going to think, and I've talked about this before, that we fail forward. We make mistakes, and we fix them. For my intro and outro for my new podcast, I had to, my goal was to learn something new each week from TikTok about how to podcast, how to edit, whatever it is, and YouTube. So one of the things I learned was how to fade music in and out. So I used that on my new podcast, intro and outro. So I had to learn that. And I did it. I put one out. I can make it a little better, so I'm doing that. So, but is what I'm saying is, again, say but, we let the but be our excuses. I had tons of reasons, just like starting the Mind Body Project, had tons of reasons. I used all of those. But what will happen? What if people don't like me? What will they think of me? But what if? It stopped me from doing this podcast for 3 years. Had all the equipment, had all the stuff, kind of knew what to do, but I used but. So that's the 3-letter word but drives fear. It drives fear because we let that stop us. But it's just an excuse. The excuses, but, can start to be overcome. And the next 2 words that we're going to talk about starts to overcome the but, which starts to overcome the fear, which is the 2-letter word, which is me. Me. I start to take responsibility when I say me. Me. It's me who's in charge of that. It's me who wants to make that a priority. If I want to put out a podcast, it's me who's in charge of, do I need to learn something new? Do I need to put it out there? It's me who needs to stop saying but. It's me who stops saying but to overcome that fear. Me starts to takes away some of the overwhelming feeling of but. When we realize that me is the responsibility, we start to use but as to divert responsibility. We don't really want to, we don't want to commit to it. We don't want to say it's me. So we'll give these other reasons. But what if other people, because as I used but before, but had to do with things outside of our control. But what if this goes wrong? But what will happen? What will the outcome be if this happens? We don't have any control of that. But what will people think? But what will people say? We don't have control over that. We have the control over me. Me. And when we realize that we have control over me, then that starts to take some of the overwhelming feeling of but out of the way. It starts to change things. We start to realize that it's me. I'm responsible. What can me, as in me, what can me do? What is it that I can not worry about the outside influences and start worrying about me? And those, we start to realize that those fears aren't real. That a lot of them, most of the time, aren't the fears that we have made up in our own mind, that it's worked out to be this grandioso thing that when we do it, it's oh, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Now, there's sometimes that those things that we're fearful of do come out and do happen. But a lot of times, I think you would agree with me that those aren't the worst things that we thought. We go, oh, that's not as bad. I mean, how many times have we gotten a shot? Typically, we work up this thing, just a shot. We go to the doctor, we need a shot. Antibiotics, something, steroids, something like that to help us feel better. And if you don't like needles, you can get really worked up about it. But you go in, the nurse, she finds a spot on your hip, boop, within 2 seconds it's done. But for days, you knew you were going to have to get the shot, and you're working up in your mind, and it's just the most awful thing. It's going to hurt so bad, and you just see that needle coming at you, and it's over just like that. Because it's not as big as we make it sound, as we make it out to be. So we have to start taking responsibility, and that me starts to take that away. We start to own that. That it's not based on the buts of other things, other people, but it's me. And can we rely on me? And then we're going to bring it all the way down to the very one-letter word that takes complete ownership, that takes complete responsibility. Me is taking some of the responsibility. We say me, and we still feel like there's others that may creep into that, other outside influences or people or words or things like that. Then there comes to the one-letter word that takes full 100% responsibility. And when we change the two-letter word of me, and we change to the one-letter word of I, everything changes. When we take ownership of I am the one that is scared. I am the one that is fearful. I am takes complete ownership. We start to say we're not blaming it on other people because that's why we're scared. We start to realize that I am the one that's scared. I am the one that is fearful. And if we get down to that one-letter word, that we get deep and honest with ourselves, and we start to say, I am scared. I am fearful. I am nervous. We can change those I am statements. I am statements are so powerful. And we're just talking about the I. What if we change those I am scared, I am nervous, I am fearful, and we take ownership in the positive. I am strong. I am faithful. I am kind. I am empowered. I am wise. I am knowledgeable. I am. And we start changing all those negative things that we're fearful of, and we start saying, I am. And when we start saying, I am, we start to create a character of overcoming. Because fear, when we're fear of ruin, fear of responsibility, fear of rejection, fear of regret, all of those can be overcome by I am. I am strong. When we say I am strong, that means if something were to tear us down, ruin, if we think of ruins, it's torn down, and we say I am strong, that is going to build me back up. I can build myself back up. Anything, nothing can tear me down. I may be torn down, but I can rebuild. I'm not going to stay in ruin. I am or fearful of responsibility. What happens if this is a long-term thing? I am consistent. I am one who has habits. And that starts to change. I am one who can be counted on. And that starts to take the fear of responsibility away from that and start saying, I am, and answering those fears of ruin, responsibility, fear of rejection. Again, what are people going to think? What are they going to say? I am living my authentic self. I am living my authentic self. It overcomes those fears of rejection because this is who I am. This is my character. This is my essence. I am this person. I am. When we say I am, it overcomes that fear of rejection. The fear of regret. What if I don't do that? I am someone who takes opportunities when they come. I am someone that takes chances. I am someone, and we can go down the list. And those begin to overcome the regret. Because the fear of regret is, oh, if I do this and it goes bad and I don't know. That's the fear of regret. Because sometimes the fear of regret goes back to the fear of ruin. If I'm going to regret this, it's going to ruin me. But if we have all those I am statements, those I am, we're taking complete 100% ownership, I, overcomes that regret, then overcomes the fear of being ruined, overcomes the fear of responsibility, overcomes the fear of Rejection because I am my authentic self. So our four-letter word that everybody has in their life, it's around everybody, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to admit to it. And sometimes we really don't want to admit the one-letter word of I. I am the one responsible for being fearful. I am the one responsible for that because I am using but. I am not referring to me as often as I should. So when we take that four-letter word of fear and we look at the but, what are all my buts? What are my excuses? And we start taking those away with some me ownership. This is on me. I'm taking responsibility for this. This is me. We still haven't taken full ownership. We're taking more than we were. And then we break it down to, then our last one-letter word is I. I can change all of this. I can make a difference. I can make a difference in my life. I can make a difference in others' lives. I can do that. And when we say I, we are taking full ownership, full responsibility. And not only that, is we're giving ourselves full power of I, and then we finish it with I am, and whatever strength you want to build from. I am strong, I am empowered, I am happy, I am healthy, I am joyful, I am kind, I am loving. All the I ams start to tear down those barriers of buts, which keep us from the four-letter word of fear, that keep us from getting to our greatness because of the four-letter word. The four-letter stops us from our greatness. The one-letter word I will see us through all of our greatness. So I challenge you to go from the four-letter word, start using the one-letter word, and use it with power. I am, and finish it strong. Hey, thanks for spending a little time with me and dropping by. And hey, we'll see y'all next time. As I tell my wife Kim every night before I go to bed, it's Bomb of the Ninth, Double A, out.